Welcome, everyone, back here to a brand new show on the NY Flight Jets Talk YouTube channel, the Next Gen Jets Show. First episode here, and it comes at a perfect timing, guys. Less than 24 hours away from the legal tampering period, and minutes before we come on here, the news comes out that Jamon Sherwood will be returning to the New York Jets on a 3-year, $45 million contract with $30 million guaranteed. Obviously, we're going to cover all things Jets here on this show with my co-host Jack Cotter and Chris Grasso. Make sure you guys smash the like button. You are subscribed to the channel. It's completely free, helps us grow significantly. You can throw your questions in the chat. We'll get to those. You can call into the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Super chats and memberships, also the paid way to help grow the show. Helps us grow significantly here. And the membership raffle that happens on NY Flight Jet Stock will also be happening here. So every membership gifted will get you a raffle ticket into our raffle. Same goes for every $2.99 super chat. But before we go any further, before we get into the crazy news for our New York Jets, also former Jet Devontae Adams just agreed on terms with the Rams on a deal. So a lot of things to get into. But before we do that, Chris, how you doing, my man?
What's up, everyone? I'm Chris G, and I'm ready to talk Jets.
Jack, how you doing?
Good. What's up, guys? I'm Jack Cotter. I'll be joining Talking Jets with Connor and Chris today. I'm so excited.
Great to have both of you here, and this is obviously going to be a weekly program on the NY Flight Jets Talk YouTube channel. A ton of topics to cover. We're going to have guests and a lot more, so super excited to get into it. Where I'm going to start, guys, you guys are talking about it in the chat already. Jamon Sherwood back with the Jets, 3 years, $45 million, worth up to $45 million with $30 million guaranteed. So you're looking at a little over $15 million AAV if you put into if you count the incentives there. This is a really, really interesting deal for the Jets because Sherwood is someone who the Jets drafted on day 3. He was a safety in college at Auburn, transitioned him into linebacker. And I felt like the past few seasons there was the buildup of this is going to be his breakup year. This is going to be his breakout year. And it ultimately happened this year. This is the first year where I feel he truly got an opportunity to show what he has, and he capitalized on it, ranked 4th in the league with 109 solo tackles. And I'm happy the Jets are retaining their homegrown talent. I understand he was not drafted by this regime, but it's always great to see someone your organization drafted on day 3 get a lucrative second contract. Now he's tied with Nick Bolton for the 4th highest AAV of a linebacker in the NFL. So, Chris, how do you feel about this move for the Jets?
I'm super pumped. Obviously, Sherwood was flying around the field for us last year. You know, when Mosley went down, he stepped right up and he was playing great. So I'm super pumped that we have him back. He's only 25. We have him for 3 years, and this is overall a great deal for us, I think.
Jack, where are you on this, man?
I love the deal as well. I think I'm in the same position as really, if I speak for all Jet fans, we are so happy to have him back. And, you know, especially with the leadership he's shown within the last year, I think he was the ever since Mosley went down, I think Sherwood was given the opportunity to do the defensive play calling at least, or tell him to his teammates, if I'm not mistaken. I just think that presents great leadership. We saw it on the field, we saw it off the field, and I just think it's a great locker, not just a good field mechanic to have, but also a great locker room mechanic to have, which I feel like will help build Aaron Glenn's community with the Jets organization. I'm absolutely loving the new deal they just gave Sherwood.
The one thing I'm a little concerned about now, like I love Jamon Sherwood, he's a great player. Same goes for Quincy Williams. I just wouldn't count the Jets out of adding another linebacker through the draft or through free agency or potentially even both. Because you look at Quincy Williams and Jamon Sherwood, you have one light linebacker in Jamon Sherwood, and then you have a very, very light linebacker in Quincy Williams. So my one critique overall when it comes to this linebacker room is I want to beef it up one way or another, whether it's through the draft or whether that's, trying to go after a name in free agency. But obviously we're less than 24 hours away now from the legal tampering period, and a lot of free agency news to get into overall right now. I'm going to start off with some free agents I spoke about yesterday on the program with Tigo that Rich Cimini released in a list of free agents the Jets could potentially target here. He lists out Justin Fields, Tim Patrick, Juwan Johnson, DJ Jones, Levi Onwuzurike, Marcus Davenport, who was eventually paid yesterday, so he's off the table. Carlton Davis, who Michael Silver of The Athletic says the Jets will be really, really in on. And then Tulana Hufwanga, the tackle from the safety, from the 49ers. Jeremy Chin, safety from the Commanders. Afitu Mafwanwu, a safety from the Lions organization. Jack, I'm going to get your thoughts here. We're going to start with Justin Fields because he's been a polarizing name overall when it comes to talking about Jet quarterback options. So where do you sit on Fields, and do you think this is something that could get done?
Fields is interesting, right? Because I feel like Fields to me it doesn't seem like the true franchise quarterback you'd expect. Of course, nothing's a guarantee in this league, right? One guy, like let's take Sam Darnold for a perfect example, an ex-Jet turned superstar, right? We don't know how it's going to go. Fields did show signs of improvement last season, but however, it didn't finish. It didn't fit with Mike Tomlin's offense, which is why he got benched. And a lot of people are saying he got benched because for Russell Wilson because he didn't do well. I don't agree one bit. I think he's a great player. I think he's definitely improved over the years. I would like to see if the Jets sign him, where they're going to go. And I think I've mentioned this a couple times, maybe calling into your show, Connor. If they do sign Justin Fields, I think they're going to go the run and gun route, which I really like, especially because if you mold Fields into the offense and utilize him well, he can maybe be your long term deal. But I'm not so sure about that right now. I see Fields as a bridge quarterback as of right now.
Jack, Chris, excuse me, where are you overall on Fields? I know you've been pretty vocal on your stance of the Jets trying to go after and covet Fields. Why is that?
I'm really optimistic about Fields, and I feel this way because, him and Garrett have that connection from college. So, there's at the very least, Garrett will be happy. And I'm not saying you have to pencil Justin Fields in automatically. I'm saying, he has a whole entire offseason to compete with Tyrod, maybe learn more about his biggest weakness, reading defenses. But overall, the arm talent is there. He has massive upside with his athleticism. He could run around, make any play with his legs and his arms. So overall, if he just gets better at, reading defenses, which he can under Tyrod. So even if he loses the battle, he'll have time to progress. And I would rather them sign Fields than draft a quarterback for sure, because I don't think this quarterback class is any good. So I'd rather them just take a chance on Fields. We already know how good of an athlete he is, and he has good arm talent. So, and with him in the play action game with the better run game, I think him throwing over the middle with that would be very deadly.
For sure. So here's where I am overall on Fields. I know a lot of people like us three are big on Fields, and we think he's a top option because he has the upside. He's athletic, get out of the pocket, make plays. I thought Jack came up with a great point of shifting maybe over to a more run and gun style offense where you have Breece Hall, Isaiah Davis, and Braylon Allen out of the backfield. And then you don't only have to worry about those guys. You also have to worry about Justin Fields taking off on the read option, extending the play, something that opposing defenses didn't have to worry about with Aaron Rodgers because they knew he wasn't able to take off, get you 4 or 5 yards, and extend the play, pick up a first down. So certainly that's something I like about Fields. I mean, when you look at him overall, his arm talent can certainly his arm talent isn't great, but I think that's something. If you shift over to a more run-heavy offense, you can kind of work around it in the sense. Most importantly, the main reason I'm big on Justin Fields is you're talking about all these names. Derek Carr, he's not going to stay with the Saints, but Kirk Cousins is another example. Fans are like, Kirk Cousins in here. He's a high floor, 37 years old. I'm not looking for a high floor when it comes to a bridge quarterback because if you look at Kirk Cousins, you look at Jameis Winston, at this point in their career, you know what you're getting in them. There's still that little unknown you have with 26-year-old Justin Fields in the sense maybe you get him and he's more than just a standard bridge option. Maybe you get him on a 1-year deal and he has some sort of explosion like we saw this past season with Sam Darnold. So he hasn't shown sustained success, but he's shown glimmers of that. And I think if you're able to get him in the right system, surround him with the right people, he certainly has potential to do things for the Jets. So that's where I am overall on Justin Fields. Like I said, though, it's certainly a polarizing topic for the Jets. Next up on this list from Rich Samini is Tim Patrick, wide receiver, has the connection to Darren Muji from when he was there in Denver and was just with the Lions this past season. So obviously has the connection to Aaron Glenn. Jack, where are you exactly on Tim Patrick as a potential free agent?
Well, I like the idea of getting a wide receiver, right? Because if you look at this wide receiver room, especially after releasing Devontae Adams, you have your wide receiver 1 is Garrett Wilson. Your wide receiver 2 right now is Malachi Corley, which is a huge, stretched out, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a huge it's a huge gap between receivers, and I feel like the Jets at least need a wide receiver 2 that's capable of being a true wide receiver 2. And I feel like Tim Patrick, if coached well, can fit that role. We've definitely seen potential and greatness within Tim Patrick with the previous teams he's been with. I just think it'd be a good move to at least go after a receiver. Although Patrick is not, the perfect receiver you can go after, at least he's a good enough wide receiver to fill in that gap between Corley and Wilson, which is I feel like is what the Jets exactly need, especially heading into this season, especially if it's a rebuild season. You really need to, and especially because wide receiver is a very important offensive position, if not the second most important offensive position, maybe behind O-line and quarterback, maybe even third. However, you still need to utilize them very well, and I feel like Tim Patrick would be a good option to at least close in the gap between Corley and Wilson to at least just have something in the middle right there.
Chris, where are you?
I'm all for adding bodies to this receiver room because obviously, after losing Devontae, probably losing Lazard, it's going to be a bit barren. So I think Tim Patrick will be a nice wide receiver 3, depending on if we make another move at receiver in free agency or the draft besides that. But, I like Tim Patrick, and I like the fact that he played in the Lions offense with Tanner Engstrand. So, Engstrand maybe knows how to, use him more and get him to be a lot more effective.
Look, Tim Patrick's certainly an interesting one because he's someone, like you said, he knows the offensive scheme, has a connection to Aaron Glenn, Tanner Engstrand, also Darren Muji. I'm not on board with both you guys in the sense he can come in and be a wide receiver too. He's a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 on any one of my team, and we're going to get in how the Jets revamp their wide receiver room in a little, but Tim Patrick, I think, is a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. He is a body you could bring into the building. I still think you need to add at least 3 total free agent wide receivers, whether that's through the draft, free agency, whether you do 2 in free agency, 1 in the draft, vice versa. You need at least 3 new free agent wide receiver. Maybe Tim Patrick is one of them who could come in, be a wide receiver 3, be a wide receiver 4 for this team in the sense you sign him for $3 million. I could see him potentially. I think he's going to be a Jet, and I think there's a strong chance this could happen tomorrow. But at best for me, he's a wide receiver 3. Get him in the building, $2 million, just add a body. Some injury concerns, though. His 2 best seasons came in 2020 and 2021, where he eclipsed just over 700 yards. Since then, he suffered an Achilles injury, an ACL injury. So since then, there's been some wear and tear on his body. I like him as a potential number 3 option, but certainly not a 2 and definitely not a 1 for Tim Patrick. Where are you guys overall on Jamon Johnson, though? Because tight end right now is a position of need for the Jets. It's still up in the air. Will the Jets retain Tyler Conklin? Will they move on from him? Even if they retain him, Jeremy Ruckert's viewed as a cut candidate. Zach Kuntz, there's a strong chance he's not even on this roster next season. And Kenny Abo is also a pending free agent. So the Jets need a lot of tight end help this offseason. Juwan Johnson, someone coming off a career year, career high in catches, career high in yards, came in the league in 2020. He's someone, though, who's going to look for a similar, contract to Tyler Conklin in the sense he's going to look for 3 years, $21 million, 3 years, $27 million. At that point, I would rather just pay Tyler Conklin the money, someone who's in-house, can get you 500 yards a year, get you a couple touchdowns, and then try to throw the bag at Juwan Johnson. Where are you, Jack?
I agree with you, Connor, and I would at that point. I agree with you. I would just sign Tyler Conklin, especially because I think Conklin didn't even do bad in his tenure with the Jets. I think he did pretty good, actually. He stepped up when the Jets needed him to step up most, and that's really all you can ask for in a tight end. Step up, do good, step up when they need you to most. Bam! If you get catches, you get yards. Conklin has it all. I feel like, especially 2023 was kind of a downside year for Conklin, but I feel like this year he definitely elevated his play a little bit. What did he have? 4 or 5 touchdowns, I think, this year. A lot of catches. He had some yak after those catches as well, especially he's a big body too. So I feel like he may not have the speed, but he definitely has he can use his big body to his advantage. And at that point, like you said, I'd rather just re-sign Conklin. Jawan Jennings, he's good. Yeah. Or Johnson, excuse me. He's good, but I'd rather just, keep Tyler Conklin at that point if they're looking for around the exact same amount of money.
Chris, where are you?
It'd be great to look for an upgrade from Conklin, and by no means was Conklin terrible. So, if we're gonna pay guys like Juwan Johnson, I think it just makes sense to re-sign Conklin. And tight end is a pretty important position because if we're gonna get Fields, it would be nice to have a nice safety blanket for him to throw to. But Conklin is serviceable. But if we're looking to upgrade that, I'm in favor of that for sure.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think that I want the Jets to. I would be on board with the Jets giving Conklin maybe that 3 for 21 deal because it sounds crazy, but that's really what tight ends are getting paid now. Like the average tight end, that's what a deal looks like. 3 years, $21 million, 3 years, $27 million for someone who has a little more upside. So I would try to keep Tyler Conklin in the building. We heard from Zach Rosenblatt that there's mutual interest between both the Jets and Conklin to try to get a deal done. But I'm even going to look at some of the other guys in free agency, like an Evan Ingram. He doesn't have the body. He's not going to be a great inline blocker, but he's someone who's a field stretcher, someone who could be that wide receiver 3 for you, help fill that role as a pure pass catcher, as a pure speedster. So I would be on board with bringing Evan Ingram here. He was just released by the Jaguars just a few days ago. 2 other names I really like, Gerald Everett. He was with the Bears this past season. Again, he would fit a Tanner Engstrand scheme in the sense running a lot of 12 personnel, and same goes for Mo Ali Cox, who was with the Colts this past year. They would be cheaper options. You're looking at $2 to $3 million, get you a couple hundred yards, and most importantly, they could be inline blockers. So I'm looking for a mix of both. So I think my ideal path, the way I'd address the tight end room in free agency and just offseason in general, I would try to bring Conklin back. I would sign Mo Ali Cox for $2 to $3 million on a 1-year deal, and then I would draft a tight end or two, whether it's Warren in the first round, whether that's going with Elijah Arroyo at pick 72 and Luke Lachey from Iowa with your 6th-round pick, or something in between. I think you need to add at least 2 to 3 tight ends though this offseason, even counting potentially bringing Tyler Conklin back on some sort of extension. That's where I am on the tight end room overall. Next up on this list, an interior run stuffing defensive tackle. DJ Jones has a history with the Broncos, has a history with Darren Muji. Contract he's looking at per PFF's contract projections, which always seem to be very, very accurate year in and year out. When it comes to DJ Jones, he would be on the more expensive side compared to trying to go with a Levi and Wozurike. So DJ Jones looking, according to the PFF, at a 2-year, $18 million contract. So, Chris, where are you on DJ Jones?
Adding bodies to the D-line is essential because stuffing the run was a problem for the Jets this season. So, adding big body defensive linemen is a must this offseason to make sure that we don't just get exploited in the run game like we've seen happen to us way too many times.
For sure. Jack, where are you at?
I love this idea, right? Especially with the D-line play that we had last year with Javon Kinlaw and Michael Clemens. That can't fill you when you're helping Will McDonald, say Will McDonald, Quinn Williams, Jermaine Johnson, right? You need someone in that interior D-line to fully complete the full circle of the defensive line rotation, and I feel like DJ Jones, would fit the role pretty well. I do.
Yeah, I like DJ Jones. The thing is, at that point, someone else is on this list next in Levi and Wozurike, who would be a bit of a cheaper option, who knows Aaron Glenn's defensive scheme. I think a big thing when it comes to finding players on the defensive side of the ball, where I am right now is find players on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's going to be important to have them fit your scheme. And I think that's why you're going to see a lot of players with connections to Steve Wilkes and a lot of players who have connections to Aaron Glenn, be added to the defensive unit in the offseason. So overall, I'm pretty big on DJ Jones, but I would rather go more of a cheaper route at Levi and Wozurike. Sign a guy like Wozurike and then draft someone in the draft because the interior defensive line class is so deep, whether that's looking at a Mason Graham or a Kenneth Grant in the first round, or, looking one of the later rounds, a Jamari Caldwell from Oregon, a Tyleik Williams, a TJ Sanders, one of those guys. I think you need at least 2 interior defensive tackles. I would rather go after a Levi and Wozurike than trying to throw a bag at DJ Jones. That's where I am on DJ Jones. We spoke about on Wozurike there, so let's jump the list a little. Carlton Davis. Talk about someone who has a connection. His defensive scheme was in Detroit with the Lions this past year with Aaron Glenn. Career year before he suffered a season-ending jaw injury in week 15. This is a name that wouldn't make too much sense for me because it seems like the Jets are most likely going to move on from DJ Reed because they don't want to pay him. Well, you'd have to pay Carlton Davis about, in that same price range. He's an elite cornerback too, don't get me wrong, but I would really, really, really like the fact if you can go out, you draft a cornerback, try to build that through the draft, and you bring back Brandon Echols on a 1 or 2 year deal than trying to throw a bag at a cornerback too when this isn't the all-in season like we've seen in years past, Chris.
Yeah, I agree. We have a good in-house, guy to keep on developing in Echols, and we can draft someone. Maybe not even if we don't take Will Johnson, which is a good pick, we can get one in the later rounds too. So, I agree with you. I don't want to throw a bag at this guy when we're letting DJ Reed walk.
Jack?
Yeah, I mean, it depends, right? Because I don't think Davis is really the best option for the Jets to get, especially like you said, he's a pretty expensive defensive back right now. A name that I do like though is Charvarius Ward. That's who I've been eyeing the Jets to get for the past couple weeks now. I really think Ward can fill in DJ Reed's spot, especially if Reed is favored to go to the 49ers. A quick swap, although not a trade. I feel like a quick swap between cornerbacks can really, just make it easy like that since Ward is becoming a free agent. I feel like the Jets can utilize him well, and he's only looking for $18 million a year. I feel like the Jets, especially with the new cap space hit that's going to bring the Jets cap space up, I do think that Charvarius Ward is A, affordable, B, coachable, because he's been in the league for years. He's a veteran now, which I'm sure he would be able to even teach Sauce Gardner maybe some tips or maybe they can even teach both each other some tips about just playing together good football. Overall, what I'm trying to say, right, is I feel like Ward can fill in DJ Reed's spot well.
See, again, Jack, if you roll with that argument, at the same time, you might as well take the route of of bringing back a DJ Reed or just signing a Carlton Davis. Like, they're pretty much going to be the same price either way, and I'd rather go with an in-house option who's an unsung hero in DJ Reed, but we all know, as of now, we sit here 7:19 p.m. on the East Coast, less than 24 hours away from the legal tampering period. It seems like DJ Reed is trending in the direction that the Jets aren't going to bring him back. So that's pretty much the list there from ESPN's Rich Samani on the free agents he expects the Jets to go after. Now it's time, guys, to throw in some names who are on that list who you think the Jets could potentially covet. Jack, where are you?
I don't know. I really think that are you talking about a specific position?
No, just free agents in general who weren't particularly on that list that you would like the Jets to go after.
I think like I said, Charvarius Ward is like a good list, a good corner. Like I said, I'm really interested to see what the Jets can utilize him with. Maybe even a wide receiver, like a wide receiver too. Maybe someone like Chris Godwin. Like, right, he's someone I feel like the Jets can go after Chris Godwin, right? Especially like we said, if Tim Patrick's not even a wide receiver too, I feel like Godwin can, because Godwin's been the wide receiver too in Tampa Bay for as long as I can remember since he was drafted, right? And he's been pretty productive, especially being under Mike Evans, who's had 1,000 yards every single season has been in the NFL. Although maybe not really recently. But I feel like Godwin can definitely build back up and be a true wide receiver for the Jets.
Yeah, Godwin's an interesting one. He would come at more of a pricey wide receiver option in free agency. The way we're going to get into revamp the wide receivers a little, I really want the Jets, though, overall to go to the younger route when it comes to wide receivers. Because if you sign Chris Godwin, he's not particularly old. He's 29 years old. And I'm a huge Chris Godwin fan. Excuse me, don't get me wrong. He's been very, very productive wherever he's gone. The concern is I'd rather get younger than pay someone, a 3-year, $60 million contract who's approaching 30 years old. That's my one concern with Chris Godwin. The wide receivers I'm looking at in free agency, someone I really, really like is Darius Slayton. Rapport with Tyrod Taylor, knows what it's like to get through poor quarterback play. Overall, has eclipsed 700 yards in his career. I would not mind going the Darius Slayton route and then building through the draft when it comes to the wide receiver position. Chris, any other names you want to throw in that list?
Not really. I'm in favor of adding receivers, and I think Chris Godwin is a good idea. However, to address receiver, I want the Jets to be taking Ted McMillan at 7. That's I've been big on that. But one thing I will push back on that you said before is that DJ Reed, just might as well sign him. DJ Reed has been very vocal on how he wants to, get out of here, basically, and that he doesn't want to be here and he's ready for free agency. So, maybe a swap, good change of scenery will be good for both of them.
Yeah, here's the thing with DJ Reed, though. The fact he said that was before the Jets hired Aaron Glenn. That was before that was when the Jets were, losing those those horrible games and just showing playing just pure undisciplined football. He put a tweet out when the Jets hired Aaron Glenn. I'm telling you, if the Jets paid DJ Reed, I'm telling you, I think he would be in favor of potentially trying to run it back with this team and come back on more of a long-term deal. So I see. Here's the thing. I know a lot of people are going to think that right away, but that was before they put out that reaction to the Jets hiring Aaron Glenn. That's before there was that was when the market was like, oh, DJ Reed has to walk in free agency. He's going to get a bag. He's going to be one of the highest paid corners. Don't get me wrong. That still might happen. 1,000%. However, I think, things have changed since he said that during the dog days of the season. So DJ Reed is someone I think is going to walk. I don't think he's going to come back, but I don't think it was of a full foregone conclusion that the Jets were going to move on from him right away compared to potentially just even trying to entertain that route. So another free agent I'm going to say potentially keep an eye on, someone who's been injured a lot. So maybe not a lot of people like him, a veteran who you could probably get in on the cheaper side given the resume of his career. It's another interior defensive lineman. It's Calais Campbell. He's someone who's been very, very productive for a long time in this league. The one concern, though, that a lot of people are going to dismiss right away, he's 39 years old, but 1 year vet minimum pretty much to $1.5 million. I think he would come here. He's a great locker room guy, had the 6th highest PFF grade for an interior defensive lineman this past season. You would poach him from the interior, from the division rivals and the Dolphins. I would be on board with trying to bring in Calais Campbell. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a starter role, but you add a blue chipper in this draft. You obviously have Quentin Williams. Maybe you see something out of you. Maybe you bring back Solomon Thomas. I don't think that's going to happen, but still, you add bodies overall to this interior defensive line group. You sign a Levi and Mozarike. He doesn't necessarily have to be a starter, but he's someone who could provide viable depth as a veteran leader. So that's where I am on a guy like Calais Campbell. Appreciate you all tuning in here on the first ever episode of Next Gen Jets. Make sure you smash the like button and you are subscribed to the channel. It's a great way to help support the show, as we are supposed to do this every single Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Throw your questions in the chat. We will get to those. If you want to call into the show, you could do so with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Super chats will come up on the screen immediately before any other questions. Mr. K comes in with his 1 month member super chat. Props on your content. You're the future of Jets news, Mr. K. Appreciate you. As always, looks like we have 70 people watching live here on YouTube, so I appreciate you guys as always. Smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. It's a free way to help grow the show, and I'm telling you guys, it helps us grow significantly. Our guy Stack, 3 months. He's been a member here on the show, so supporting the young bloods. Jets re-signed Jamon Sherwood. Stack, thank you so much, my man. Appreciate all your support here on the show. The big fella comes in with a $5 super chat. Hey,
Here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Damn straight. Appreciate you as always, big fella, coming in with a $5 super chat. Congrats on the new show. You guys are the future. Love to see this big fella. You're the best, my man. Appreciate your support on the program as always. And ND Jets wants in. Big fella, that got you a few more tickets into our raffle. And ND Jets wants in on our raffle. He gives some membership.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Indeed, we are, BG. Indy Jets, thanks so much for the gifted membership. That went to JT. JT, you are now a member. Thanks to Indy Jets in the chat. Thank you so much. That is a raffle ticket for you. We'll update the ticker later on after the show. So, Indy Jets, appreciate that. Like I said, comments, questions, throw them in the chat. Call into the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Mr. K comes in. Who are we thinking at 7? Chris, I know you had your sentiment there about potentially trying to go after Tet McMillan. Tet is someone I'm really high on. Jack, is there anyone you're eyeing in the draft this year as someone you want the Jets to potentially covet?
I am, yeah. However, I think Tet, like you said, Tet's a great option, especially if we need to fill that wide receiver 2 hole. Like we said, Tet, very tall wide receiver. I feel like we can utilize him well if coached well. But I'm also interested in trading down. Right, if you trade down, especially if you get Fields or Taylor as the starting quarterback this year, I wouldn't be mad with trading down at all. If that means you'll be able to trade back up or do something to get your franchise quarterback next season, so I wouldn't be mad if we go both ways. But if I'm thinking of a specific mind, probably Tet McMillan. I really think so. But if not, then either I like Mason Graham, I like Will Johnson, but overall, I wouldn't be mad with trading down at all, though.
Yeah, trading down right now is probably where I sit as the best option for the Jets. Thing is, you need to find someone to trade down with. Like, who's coming up for who? Maybe it's the Cowboys for Ashton Genty if they feel he's going to get poached by a team like potentially the Bears. I think it's a team to watch for Genty at pick 10. Right now, I'm in the boat of trying to trade down, get the best value, because I know a lot of people say this draft is top heavy. I view it as the opposite. I think the meat and potatoes overall, the best value comes in the late first round, comes in the early second round with, a Colston Loveland, for example, from Michigan, is someone I am super, super high on as a potential tight end option. Don't get me wrong, I love Tyler Warren, but if you're able to trade down, recoup some more overall draft value, and then you take a Colston Loveland, I would 1,000% be on board with that. In a Mecca Ibuka, who's another wide receiver I'm super, super impressed with in a trade back scenario, you can go ahead and potentially try to take him. You want to go offensive line, maybe even a Kelvin Banks is there. Interior defensive line, you're looking at a Derek Harmon, a Darius Alexander, a Walter Nolan. If you want, especially on the interior. So a lot of names I really, really like in a trade back scenario. So where I sit right now, I really, really want to go that trade back route. Chris, are you still gung-ho on Tet, or are you open to anything right now?
So I'm gung-ho on Tet for sure. I think his ability to, change speeds and accelerate and decelerate will make him an elite route runner. Plus his catch radius is great since he's 6'5". He's a perfect complement to Garrett. So I think it makes sense, to pick him if he's there at 7. But if not, you made a really good point. I'd be 100% be open to, going back into the first round and getting Mbuka later, because he's boys with Garrett Wilson. And I don't know if he was there early enough to play with Justin Fields, but reuniting Garrett Wilson and Mbuka trio would be that'd be great because they already have chemistry. So my first choice is Ted McMillan at 7, but that'd be a good option too.
June, the GM, in the building with a $2 super chat.
Can't wait.
Thank you, June, for the $2 super chat. Appreciate all your support on the show. As always, you're the best. Says, I'm proud of you all. Keep doing your thing. June, thank you so much for the $2, my man. Always fun chopping it up with you. So if you or anyone else wants to get on the air, talk some fun Jets football, call on the show with a pinned comment at the top of the chat. Dicker the Kicker comes in, says Fields tomorrow. Now, this is an interesting one because Justin Fields is someone we've heard reports a lot swirling from multiple insiders that the Jets have been really, really big on Fields since the combine. My prediction right now still stands that Tim Patrick is going to be the first free agent the Jets sign at some point tomorrow, but I could certainly see the Jets trying to, roll the dice early on Justin Fields before he gets too deep into talks with the Steelers. So if Fields is the first free agent the Jets sign, I would certainly be open to it. So Jack, where are you on Fields potentially being a Jet tomorrow? Do you want it done sooner rather than later?
I would, but I feel like depending on who we get first, because it all depends, right, on who we get first. Like you said, Tim Patrick, I feel like I don't think Fields is a more than 2 days of our signing range. I feel like we'll sign him if we do get him. It'll be before Wednesday. I want to say that's just what I'm saying. I'm super high on Fields too. I would love to see what Fields does with the Jets. And that's why I believe, and I think the Jets are pretty high on Fields too. Multiple reports are coming out, especially like a lot of tweets are coming out that the Jets are very high on Fields. I would not be surprised one bit if they pick him up either tomorrow or sooner rather than later.
John Bushnell comes in the chat to sign with Yaboa cheap double dip in the draft. Chris, let's go over to you. Talk some tight ends here. We spoke about Tyler Conklin potentially coming in. We threw out a Jawan Johnson. We threw out Evan Ingram. Your thoughts on potentially the Jets trying to bring back Kenny Yaboa, who's not that much of like an Evan Ingram in the sense of he's a field stretcher. He's more of an inline blocker who provides you a lot of special teams value. Someone the Jets signed as an undrafted free agent who you could probably bring back on more of a cheaper deal. So where are you on the Jets potentially trying to sign Kenny Yaboa? Obviously not as a starter, but maybe as a tight end 2, a tight end 3 type guy.
I like the idea of, signing a guy like Yaboa who could play on the offensive line and block well, because I feel like the Jets should 100% be a run-first team this year, no matter who's the quarterback. So I like the idea of that. And you made up a good point. Signing Mo Alley Cox, he's giant, isn't he? He's 6'8" or 6'7", but that's a really good move to have done. I don't want to overpay for anybody. So if you can make a clear upgrade, that's good. But if you're gonna pay somebody, and more money, just get Conklin back. Conklin is serviceable. So that's where I'm at with tight ends.
Yeah, here's the thing. Kenny Yaboa is another one. Like I said, Mo Alley Cox is actually 6'5". He's a basketball player in college, so I know where you're getting that crazy height from. Here's the thing. Like I said, Kenny Yaboa is not going to be a guy who comes in and he's a starter, because we know he's shown throughout his career he is not that guy. He's an inline blocker who provides special teams value, who's not going to cost the house. Maybe he's the Mo Alley Cox type guy we're talking about, who the Jets already have in the building, and you bring him back on some sort of a sweetener, if you will, of an extension. So I would certainly be on board with bringing back Kenny Yaboa, but you still, like you said, you mentioned they're double dipping in the draft, John. You'd have to do that, because I'm not on board with going into the season with Jeremy Ruckert, Kenny Yaboa, Tyler Conklin, technically the same tight end room we had last season, because that, as we saw this past season, it really didn't work. So I still want to add some extra bodies, even if you do re-sign a Kenny Yaboa and a Tyler Conklin. That's where I am on the tight end room. Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. 70 of you watching live. First episode of Next Gen Jets. Connor Long, Jack Cotter, Chris Grasso here with you on this Sunday evening. Like I said, get all your questions in. We'll get to those if you want to call into the show. You could do so with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. A lot of topics we got to talk about here when it comes to the Jets, less than 24 hours away from the opening of the legal tampering period. Free agency is obviously the talk of the town right now, guys, but could you see the Jets potentially trying to make any trades? I know there's been some quarterbacks potentially on the trade market, some top elite names who have requested trades or who will be out on the trade market. Myles Garrett was one of them until he got that bag today. Will be the highest non-paid quarterback in NFL history. Are there any guys you're eyeing right now who could potentially be on the trade block who you want the Jets to potentially try to put an offer in for? Chris, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, I heard the Eagles were, saying they might be able in the market to trade, what's his name? Goddard.
Dallas Goddard. Yep. Right.
And they said they would want it for really cheap too. So I'd be in there for sure. I'd be in there even a third if they want that. Dallas Goedert could be an instant fix, and he's not just an average guy. He has a lot of upside. He was great for the Eagles, and he can be that way for us. So I'm all in on that.
I think if the Jets could give up a 4th round pick for Dallas Goedert, I think that is a massive win. Dallas Goedert is someone who he's dealt with some injury issues here and there over the past few seasons, but overall he's been a very, very, very productive tight end, and I like that. Like, you're telling me I can give up a day 3 pick? I'd give up my 4th round this year for Dallas Goedert, just because what I'm going to do is I'm going to look in the 4th round and I'm saying I understand it's a rich tight end class, but who are you getting in the 4th round who's going to come in and make a greater impact than Dallas Goedert has shown throughout the entirety of his career? And I just don't think you're going to get that. Goedert, like I said, someone I really, really like, 6'5", 256 pounds, 496 yards last year, 2 touchdowns. Again, struggled with injuries, so he only had 42 receptions. But when he's on the field, he makes an immediate impact for this team, and a team that needs a lot of tight end help. I think Goedert could be someone the Jets should certainly explore going that route. Chris, where are you on potentially names on the trade block?
Did you say Chris or me?
I meant Jack. My bad.
All right. I love the Goddard. I love the Goddard idea of trading for him. I was just looking at the post a couple earlier today, excuse me. But someone I have in mind, this may be a little bit of a stretch because of how much maybe it'll take to get him, because he's such a playmaker, is DK Metcalf, especially if you're on the ropes of getting a wide receiver. I know we talked about the receivers earlier. I think Metcalf would really fit in with Enstrand's offense, and I feel like him and Garrett Wilson would produce lightning, especially depends on who the quarterback is, right? And I feel like Metcalf will definitely help the incoming quarterback this season. I know it seems a bit of a stretch, but I like Metcalf in this scenario.
Look, I like Metcalf a lot too, for sure. The one thing I look at, like, the value is going to be insane. Like, do you really want to trade that for a DK Metcalf, who, again, I think DK Metcalf is not old. I'm not calling DK Metcalf old. The thing is, I really think the Jets are going to try to build the wide receiver room through the draft while adding one veteran through free agency of the draft. Like, DK Metcalf is 27 years old. I don't see the Jets trying to go after him, put together multiple first-round picks in a package to try to trade for him, and what you get a few years out of him when we know this isn't the same all-in team we've had over the past few years. I like the idea, Jack, 1,000%. I just don't see the Jets trying to go all-in on, potentially a DK Metcalf type guy. I'm all for the Jets, though, potentially trying to put together a package for Dallas Goedert. As you guys see on the lower third, the recent trades, Christian Kirk went for a 7th round pick. Deebo Samuel went for a 5th round pick. Joe Thuney went for a 4th round pick. So those are the recent trade cops when it comes to looking for, when it comes to potentially trying to put together a package for DK Metcalf, potentially trying to put together a package for a Cooper Kupp, a Jari Alexander, a Trey Hendrickson. Any quarterbacks you guys like who are potentially on the trade market? I know we've heard some younger ones, a Hendon Hooker as a backup, a Joe Milton, Anthony Richardson is a name we heard. Jack, are there any quarterbacks you're looking for on the trade block?
I like Milton. I like Milton to be a solid backup. Of course, I'd like to see how he is first if we do trade for him, depending on if he could compete for the starting job, although I do not think he is a starter at starting caliber yet. I wouldn't be mad with also getting Hendon Hooker, like you said. I know he's the backup for the Lions the past couple seasons. I wouldn't be mad at all getting Hooker, especially if he's bringing in to be a backup. I just don't see either of them being a starter, though. And I feel like it's kind of like the regime here is already eyeing on their franchise quarterback. So I don't think Hooker would be a starting material. Although Kyler Murray has been on my mind lately to come to the Jets, especially if you maybe trade that 7th pick or something to get Kyler Murray. I wouldn't count that out one bit.
Chris?
I wouldn't trade for any quarterbacks like Hendon Hooker or on this bottom screen. I think that's Mason Rudolph. I think that's crazy. But I would trade for Richardson. I'm super high on Richardson. I think that, give him more time, he'll be great. He has all the tools. He has he has a crazy arm. So I would love they traded for Richardson. I would also give up the 7th pick for Murray, because that's a guy who what you're getting with him. He's quick and he can get the ball out. So I like him. But yeah, I would really like Fields or Richardson as a second there.
So a couple things there on the names on the names we spoke about primarily. Hendon Hooker is a backup, yes. Here's what I would do for Hendon Hooker. I would be willing to give up Jordan Travis and a day 3 pick for Hendon Hooker, just because Hendon Hooker is more of a healthy version. He's a healthier version of Jordan Travis, in my opinion, who's taller with a higher ceiling. That's what I'm looking for. Someone else who knows the playbook, has the connection to Tanner Engstrand and Aaron Glenn. I would be interested in bringing him in as the backup. Joe Milton, we saw a Week 18 game out of him. People already going crazy over him. No, thank you. I don't think they're trading him in division. Reminds me a lot of Jalen Milroe. So if you want that route, a big guy who has a lot of upside, who's inaccurate, you draft Jalen Milroe in this year's draft and from Alabama on day 2 or day 3. So that's where I am on Joe Milton. Spoke about Hendon Hooker, spoke about Joe Milton. Kyler Murray is certainly an interesting one because a lot of people are split on him. A lot of people are split on him in the sense that they're concerned about his height. I'm not giving up anything for him. And then there's the boat that both of us are in the sense that Kyler Murray is a proven quarterback. People might not like him because of the height and the whole film thing. I would give up the 7th overall pick, though, for Kyler Murray, because he's proven he is a top 10 quarterback year in and year out in this league. Someone who is more than just a bridge option for you. He's shown glimmers of being that franchise guy, more consistent glimmers than like a Justin Fields, who we just spoke about. I would give up the 7th overall pick for Kyler Murray. A name I saw in the chat here by Jet Up, our guy Caden, channel member, moderator in the building, who I really, really like, is Malik Willis. He's someone who struggled, really struggled with the Titans, the team that drafted him in the 3rd round. But you look what he did as Jordan Love's backup with the Packers this past season. 2 starts, appeared in 7 games. He went 2-0, completed 74.1% of his passes for 550 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. If you can't get Justin Fields in the building, he's someone you could bring in to help compete with the Tyrod Taylor, who has a higher ceiling, and you try to really get him in the building. Give up a day 3 pick. He went for a 7th rounder last offseason. You're probably looking for about a 6th round comp. The Jets have 2 6th rounders this year. They can make that work. When it comes to Anthony Richardson, though, Chris, what has he shown? I'm not too big on him. And what does his value look like? Just because I don't think the Colts are going to want to, get a day 3 pick in exchange for Anthony Richardson. We heard the talks with the Panthers and Bryce Young about them doing that in season. Then they put Bryce Young back in, and he looks great. Maybe it could be the same scenario with Anthony Richardson because he was a high-round pick just a few years ago. I don't see them trying to settle for a day 3 pick. He hasn't been great, but certainly is that some sort of ceiling with the Colts there. What does his value look like, and what would you be willing to give up for him, Chris?
So his value to me comes from the arm strength that he's flashed and the athleticism.
Let's say trade value. What is his trade value?
Trade value, I think they're gonna, we see players go for like crazy low amounts. So I think 3rd, 4th in that range. And what was your other question?
I said you spoke about his trade value there, and why do you think the Colts would be willing to trade him for that?
Oh, yeah. So, there was reports that they were shopping for him. And I think so because when he was tapping out, I think that made them that turned them off to him. I think they just want, a reset at franchise quarterback. Remember when he tapped out of that game? I think that, set the fan base off, set everyone off in that building.
So you want that on your team?
No, I think he changed and, learned from that. I think, that was a big learning point for him. He obviously made him aware that he needs to work harder and, put more time in. So I'm convinced that that was a big shift in his career. For the
Look
better.
at that. Yeah, for sure. At that point, though, in my eyes, I would rather roll the dice on a Malik Willis, who, at least has showed some sort of, not even, I'm not going to say sustained success because he went 2-0 in 2 starts. He at least showed you something promising consistently with the Packers team last season. Someone who's still very, very young. And we're talking about Malik Willis, who's 25 years old. Malik Willis is my guy. Malik Willis and Hendon Hooker are my 2 guys. If the Jets really want to go out and try to put together a trade package, that's where I am on the trades overall. Appreciate you tuning in. Smash the like. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Completely free. Helps us grow significantly. Get your questions in there. We'll get to those. If you want to call into the show, you could do so with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Membership, super chats, cut the line. A few more things here before we get to the chat. The next topic is there was a lot of confusion overall, a lot of ambiguity when it came to the Jets' 3rd round pick in this year's class. A lot of people assumed right away when they traded for Devontae Adams, Jets lose the 73rd overall pick, they gain the 92nd. Well, somehow, some way, the Jets knew this. The Jets knew they had the 73rd overall pick all along, but no reporters, none of us knew that the Jets still had the 73rd overall pick till it came out after the Raiders dealt for Geno Smith. So now it's official. In our eyes, the Jets have sort of regained 3rd round pick for lack of a better term, but not really because they knew they had the 3rd round pick overall. But in our eyes, the Jets gained a higher draft pick. And this is huge for the Jets because they went from picking at 42 and then not picking again till 92. Now they pick at 42 and they pick again at 73. A perfect bridge gap, I think, for the Jets to get a really, really solid player in round 2 and then also kind of double dip in early round 3. Chris, how exciting is this move for the Jets and how could they capitalize on it?
I think this is one of the good, Joe Douglas moves, like the diamond in the rough, one of the diamonds in the rough. But how they can capitalize is, by saying, let's paint a scenario. They take McMillan in the first round, a D lineman in the second round, and then they can, add maybe an offensive lineman or linebacker or safety, and with that, pick that's still pretty decently high, still in the top 75. So they can capitalize with adding more bodies where they need depth.
Jack, what do you think of this for the Jets, and are there any prospects you're looking for in that early third round range?
I like this, especially the more picks, the better, in my opinion. The more picks, the better in any draft scenario. Round 3, like we said a couple minutes ago, if the Jets do not get a quarterback in the first round, I'd be interested to see if they can get Milroe in the second or third round with that 73rd pick. If somehow he drops down there, I'd be interested in getting Milroe. Another name that popped up on my list while taking a look at my notes today, Isaiah Bond. I know he from Texas. I really like Isaiah Bond. 5'11", 180 pounds. He had a 4.39 40-yard time. I think he, especially if coached well by Enstrand and his receiver coach, I definitely feel like Bond could be a solidified wide receiver, at least 2 or 3 in this upcoming year.
Yeah, Bond's certainly an interesting one. You mentioned him, 5'10", 180 pounds. He could be someone you plug into the slot, you get in that third round pick. Really overall dynamic athlete, fluid mover, really explosive after the catch, great route runner too. Vertical threat, like I said, you could put him in the spot, has that high end speed he could beat you with. So I'd be in on Isaiah Bond in the third round. But the name I'm really, really looking for with that third round pick, someone I've been talking about for a long time here on the program, Tackleazi Trapillo from Boston College. He's someone I'm super, super high on. Great week at the Senior Bowl. Great combine overall. 6'7", 321 pounds. Really overall solid build. Shows, firm grasp of spacing, depth, timing. Just turned 23 years old. Not too old of a prospect. I really like Ozzie Trapillo, especially if the Jets ultimately don't retain a guy like Morgan Moses in free agency, who we'll get into in a little while. He could come in, potentially be your starting right tackle, or let's say they bring back Morgan Moses, he could be your swing guy. So I'm big on Ozzie Trapillo from Boston College right now. Speaking of Morgan Moses, let's go over to that right now. Jets have a ton of free agents this offseason. Over 16 impending free agents on defense, 16 impending free agents on defense, 11 on offense / special teams. So the Jets have a lot of free agents this offseason. So there's a handful that have been talked about. Yeah, the strong possibility of them coming back, and then there's some we're moving on. Where are you on any free agents the Jets could retain? Jack, I'll go over to you first.
I'm really interested in DJ Reed, right? I know we already went over this a couple minutes ago that Reed's most likely to leave, but I feel like, with this new regime, if Aaron Glenn can convince him, Reed is a very important part of our defense. I really think he is. In some ways, he played a lot better. In some ways, not all aspects. I feel like he played a little better than a lot of cornerbacks in this league last year. And I feel like that's really what you need, especially in a rebuilding stage now. I know he came here in 2022, but I feel like if it's not a win now scenario this year, why not just bring him back on a multi-year deal? I feel like because he wants to get paid, and he's a good part of our defense. I would not be mad at all if the Jets bring him back.
Chris, where are you on any of the impending free agents you look and you see on the Jets roster and say you want them back and on some sort of maybe team-friendly type deal?
I think the main one that we wanted back, Jamon Sherwood, the guy with the most upside. We have him now, so that makes me very happy, and I'm glad that happens. But a guy we could get back on a team-friendly deal is Tyler Conklin. And if not Tyler Conklin, I'd like to see them get Everett. But there's nobody else really. I think DJ Reed is more of a done deal than maybe you guys think. I think he's wants to test the market and doesn't want to be here anymore. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about it.
I'm going to throw out a few names. I could see I would be on board with the Jets potentially trying to bring back. Number one, Morgan Moses. We'll get into him in a little. Tyler Conklin, we spoke about him already. Tony Adams is another one. Jamon Sherwood, we obviously got him back. And Ashton Davis. I'm going to start off with Morgan Moses. A leader on this team, someone who, again, he wasn't durable in the sense he didn't get injured, but he played through injuries. He was a tough player. Average starting right tackle when he's on the field. You bring him back for $5 million, guys. He can potentially try to help groom the next right tackle of the future here. Bring him back for cheap. Average starting right tackle, great leader. Signed, sealed, delivered for me on Morgan Moses. We spoke about Conklin. And then Ashton Davis. He's a polarizing one because he didn't look great at safety overall this past season. Certainly didn't live up to expectations after the Jets re-signed him last offseason on a one-year deal. But he's a guy who come back for a couple $1 million, be the captain of the special teams unit, and even provide some safety value, as the Jets are pretty much skin and bones at the safety position right now. So I'd 1,000% be on board with bringing Ashton Davis back on more of a team-friendly contract to be the quarterback, if you will, of the special teams units. That's where I am on Ashton Davis. And then the other name I mentioned, Tony Adams, another safety. The Jets lack safety depth. Someone the Jets signed as an undrafted free agent. Bring him back on an ROFA tender for about $3 million, I think it is. I would be on board for rolling the dice on Tony Adams for one more year. Those are the guys I'd look for when it comes to the Jets trying to retain any of these free agent options. I'm hoping Morgan Moses, if I had to pick one name on that list, Morgan Moses is the guy I would really, really want to come back, just because he's someone cheap. And when's the last time we've looked at an offensive line group like the Jets and been like, wow, this offensive line, every single piece on this offensive line is solidified. And you could pretty much do that by re-signing Morgan Moses. Obviously, you want to add some depth there, but that's a huge step in the right direction if the Jets want to bring back Morgan Moses. Appreciate you all tuning in here on Next Gen Jets. Jack Cotter, Chris Grasso, Connor Long here with you, the first episode of the show. If you're enjoying it, make sure you like the video. Make sure you are subscribed, completely free. Helps us grow significantly. Get all your questions in the chat. We'll get to those. If you want to call into the show, you could do so with the pinned comment of the chat. Super chats, memberships, and then super chats, memberships come up right away. But throw your question in there, even if it's not a super chat. We'll get to that for sure. Let's see, though, before we get to any questions, a 20 bomb from Jeffrey R. 20 gifted memberships from Jeffrey.
You play to win the game.
Damn straight, Herm. 20 gifted memberships from Jeffrey R. 20 names to read. Let's hit it. Oscar the Grouch, Rick Kent, Swamp Ranger, Guy Dom C, Nate, Mr. Roberts, Cactus Johnny, Jersey Jet, Party with Peganardi, Extinguish, The Guilt, 25, Cuculate Jet Fan, Dylan Terraman, Philip Hannon, Sonny Miller, John, Lenient NC, Jojo Townsell, Huge Johnson, the user 429. You were all gifted memberships. Thanks to our guy, Jeffrey R. 20 more raffle tickets for you, Jeffrey, my man. Can't thank you enough for all the support here on the show. And it doesn't stop there, baby. Oscar the Grouch with 5 more gifted memberships.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Indeed, Rex. 5 from Oscar, Jack Morano, DNY for life, Jerry Moore, Barney Miller, Michael Pitham. You were all members. Thanks to our guy, Oscar the Grouch. Oscar, thank you so much for all your support here on the show. That is 5 raffle tickets for you, 20 for Jeffrey R. And some more NFL news coming in right away here. Seattle Seahawks have dealt DK Metcalf to the Steelers. Now I'm going to try to get the exact package up here on the screen. This is just coming in from Adam Schefter of ESPN. Let's pull it up. It says, okay, here it goes. Okay, so Seattle is sending 2-time Pro Bowl wide receiver DK Metcalf to the Steelers per sources. That's all we have from Schefter right now. There's no exact details on the package yet right now. That's where it is. So the Jets have the Seahawks, have traded DK Metcalf to the Steelers. We'll keep you posted on the exact package. Some other Jets news. We expected it to come, but it's pretty much now official from ESPN's Rich Cimini. The DJ Reed will hit the open market, and the Jets will not retain him. So we expected that now, but that's the official word from ESPN's Rich Cimini that the Jets will be moving on from DJ Reed. Before we get back to the chat and take your calls, obviously, I want to get your thoughts. Do you think DK Metcalf going to the Steelers now via trade could potentially sway Justin Fields' opinion on where he's going to go one way or another when it comes to an overall weapon standpoint and the construction of the roster? Jack, Chris, I'm going to throw it to you first.
Well, my answer to that question is a little bit, but not really, because the thing that is moving the needle for Fields is he wants to have the opportunity to start an entire season. I don't think, the Steelers had some good pieces before that, but I think he just wants to have an opportunity to shine, and I feel like if the Jets give that to him, they'll be heavily rewarded.
Jack, where are you?
I agree with Chris, right? It depends on what his outlook on what his wants are, right? If he wants to be a starter, he'll probably want to leave the Steelers. If he wants to stay with the Steelers, or if he wants to win a championship or go to the playoffs right away and maybe still play with a team, even if it means being a backup, then I think he'll stay with the Steelers, because I don't think Fields will be the starting quarterback for Pittsburgh next year if he ends up staying. I do think he wants a starting job in the NFL, which is why I think it won't really affect him that much.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you guys overall. I don't think it's going to sway his opinion one way or another. Just thought I'd throw it at you guys since DK Metcalf now to the Steelers, a huge move overall, shakes up the entire NFL. I do have news now on the package. It's a really interesting package. Shout out to Tom Pelissero of NFL Network who comes out with this. The Steelers are sending their 2025 second-round pick for DK Metcalf, who is signing a 5-year, $150 million contract with Pittsburgh. The $33 million new money average, it makes it the largest deal in franchise history. So wow, there we go. The Steelers went all in on getting DK, huh?
The Steelers are trying to move the needle.
Crazy.
They need playmakers, and that's a menacing receiver now at Pickens and Metcalf. That's crazy to defend.
For sure. Like I said, keep the questions coming. We'll get to those. If you want to call into the show, you could do so with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Let's go over to the phone lines. June, the GM, is up first here on the show. June, how you doing?
What's going on, young gunners? I see you're doing your thing. Very proud of you guys.
Appreciate it, June. Appreciate it.
So about DK going to Pittsburgh, it's interesting. I did a little bit of research on Pittsburgh. For years, they've had a lot of problems with wide receivers acting up. And DK has been known time and time again to have a little bit of an attitude issue. So that's very interesting with Pickens down there. It could be a little bit chaotic, but that's their issue. I did want to hit a point that you said earlier. Finally, I agree with something. Sometimes me and I get mad with the short
Which is great, though. It's fun when we disagree.
So I'm not a Justin Field fan. I like him. Don't get me wrong. He's better than what we have now. We don't got nothing. But if we're going to make a splash, I would not mind. I don't think they would do it. But my God, I like to trade for Kyler Murray. I love Kyler Murray. I'm an Oklahoma Sooner fan, and you know that. I told you that.
Yes,
I'm a
for
Sooner
sure.
fan, baby, okay? Boomer Sooner. And he was signing with my man Lincoln Riley before he betrayed us. And if we can some way, somehow, slither our way into the Cardinals' good graces and get Kyler Murray, let me tell you something about Kyler Murray. Forget about the height. The kid got a gun. If you ever see him throw the ball, he got a gun. You see, he destroyed us last year. Like water off a duck's back. It was easy, right?
30 points. 30 points.
Like nothing. So Kyler Murray is elite. Think about this. The head coach they got didn't draft Kyler Murray. Okay? He inherited Kyler Murray. So
Cliff Kingsbury drafted him.
That's a good point.
Right. So maybe he says, you know what? If we can get a second round pick or first, I can start over with somebody I want to groom, right? Because we don't know who he likes as a quarterback. I'll tell you what, if we can get Kyler Murray with his athletic ability, with the arm he got, I promise you, I don't care about any. By the way, people sometimes think I got crazy takes. I wrote in the chat the other day, they were saying that we were going to sign Sherwood for 10 to 12 tops. And in the chat, you can check my receipts. I said, absolutely not. He's going to get at least $15 million a year. What he signed for? 3 years, $45 million. That's an average of what? $15 million a year. Because
with up to 45, with up to 45 in incentives. Right. Now, are you cool with that, or you think that's too much?
Listen, the kid was top 5 in tackles.
Top
Okay,
3, yeah.
The kid is fast. Aaron Glenn said he's looking for speed. Why are we going to let an in-house talent like that leave? For what?
Exactly.
In-house.
I agree.
In-house. You know what I'm saying? I'm very happy with that signing. Look, you guys are young, and time you start realizing sometimes across the street, the grass looks better. But when you get there, you notice, oh, shit, there's potholes everywhere in this grass. No, sometimes if you know what you got, you keep it. You sign them and you keep them in-house. Very happy with that signing. Now, we need to hit on this quarterback. It don't matter what we say. Okay, right now we have nothing. The cupboard is bare. Whether we get Justin Fields or not, like I said, I'd rather go a different direction, but I root for him if he comes. Justin Fields' QBR was horrific last year. 50% QBR, average 140 yards a game. I don't get excited over that. I'm just going to be real with you. But I do love his athletic ability out the pocket. That's dangerous, right? When you mix that with Breece Hall, whatever they're going to try to figure out. But we need to hit on this quarterback. We need to fix the defensive line. The defensive line, we could have ran for at least a first down last year against our Jets defensive line. And with the tight end situation, if we're going to go Goddard, right, who has a history of always getting hurt, but I keep Tyler Conklin. kind of the same player. Tyler never really got a chance to shine because of all the damn nonsense going on in the damn team. Nobody really got it. Imagine Garrett Wilson with a competent quarterback who actually makes him the focal point of the offense like he should be. We're talking 1,500 yards, but he's not. He's barely scratching 1,000. So I love the Kyler Murray, Connor. Let me tell you something, Connor. I've been a Jets fan a long time. The best quarterback I've ever seen behind center for us was Chad Pennington. You want to know why Chad Pennington didn't get us to the Super Bowl? Because his arm was weak. After he heard it, it was never the same.
Exactly that injury. Yeah,
he couldn't go with the tight coverage, man. And
he's a Drew Brees type guy. Like if he didn't get hurt, he could play that same role as Drew Brees. Like he didn't have his arm strength. Here's the thing. He reminds me of like a facilitator, for example. He doesn't have anything. Like he's not going to gash you with his speed. He's someone who's just. I was gonna say like an Andy Dalton comp. That's obviously not fair. Like think Andy Dalton, but 10 times better when it comes to Chad Pennington. Someone who doesn't have any insane athletic traits overall, but it's just overall a great man.
There was a time when the red hair bandit Andy Dalton was incredible in Cincinnati. But what happened was Cincinnati's one of those teams that always has talent. If you look at Cincinnati's roster, they always got talent. You know what's the problem in Cincinnati? They don't like to pay their players. Just like
Pittsburgh tagged T. Higgins for the second year in a row.
If you look at Pittsburgh's history as well, they don't pay their players either. That's why I'm surprised at this Metcalf signing. This is unlike Pittsburgh. Okay, so for us, we need to get some help for Garrett Wilson. Okay, I'm going to give you a name that nobody's talking about. You guys tell me what you're thinking. I'll jump off. Why nobody's talking about 25-year-old who got busy in the playoffs, Damani Brown out there in Washington.
I was talking about him yesterday.
And he's going to come cheap. We don't got to give him $30 million a year. Little 3-year contract, $30 million, $35 million.
No, not even that, June. Have you seen the comps for what his price is going to look like?
What they saying?
They're saying about, let me try to pull it up here from PFF. I was looking at it earlier today. I think they're saying, what is it? Sorry, stand by here. Brown, I'm going to get it up on the screen here. It's very, very cheap, and it's very, very affordable. Diami Brown, $3 million a year, they're saying.
What?
So 3 years, $9 million. That's the comp.
Let me ask you a question. Forgive me. Tim Patrick is always injured. He's been injured since the Denver, okay?
I was saying earlier.
Give me Brown. Give me a young kid, 25 years old, who excelled in the playoffs. He excelled. He's a good number 2 or /3. If he's not going to cost us nothing, what's the problem? What's the holdup? Give me Brown next to Garrett Wilson. Draft another wide receiver in the draft. Our first-round pick, by the way, remember I told you this. I think we're going to do something stupid. I pray not.
I hope so.
I think we're going to do something stupid. Forgive me. I don't know why. I feel like we're going to do something stupid and draft Dart number 7. I don't know why.
June, the one thing I will say about Fields is he improved every year, and I'm thinking that him getting coached by Tomlin will help him, and then him competing with Tyrod and getting word from Tyrod, and that'll help him reading the defenses and becoming a better quarterback. So I'm optimistic about Fields, man.
I'll tell you this, Chris. If he's coming here, is not competing, he's starting. Because that's what they did to him in Pittsburgh. He went 4-2, and I don't know how you do that to a kid who's 4-2, regardless of how he's playing. Oh, listen, you're gonna sit down now. The OG's here. No, you don't do that. If Fields comes here, he starts. I give him a 2 to 3 year contract. And to be honest, I just grab a quarterback late in the draft. I won't sweat a quarterback.
Yeah.
The first 3 rounds, I'm not touching the quarterback. We could probably grab McCord or the kid Shuck out there from Louisville, 6'5".
I like yours.
I like yours too.
I'm a Sooner fan. I can't horns down. I can't do it. Jack, don't do that, Jack. I can't have no Longhorn quarterback in the Jets, man.
No, I'm saying one reason I'm so high on Fields is because I don't like any of these quarterbacks. I don't want them to rush taking a quarterback just to take a quarterback. This class,
I agree.
I don't think this class is good. So just get me Fields and treat him like a rookie. If you have to, if you have to do whatever you have to do to him. But I think he has so much upside and he can be the future here. So we just need to do him right.
I like the class. I don't like after the first 2. Like, I'm iffy about all the quarterbacks. If you're gonna take a flyer, give me the kid from Louisville in the 4th round. Do your research on him. I brought him up 3 weeks ago, and everybody, who's that? And now look, now they talk about he's climbing to the 2nd round.
Yeah, he's too old for me, June, to use an
How old is
early
he?
round pick.
I know.
He's
Let
going
me
to
ask
be
you a
26 in
question.
September.
26?
Yeah, he spent 7 years in college. 7 years.
Or have you done the research on what he's been through in college?
Yeah, for sure. I can't wrap my mind around trying to use what?
49? Bo Nix. How old is Bo Nix?
He's 25.
24. Yeah, 24, 25. Okay, here's the thing.
He's not a young chicken. He's old too. And how he look?
He looked good. I mean, he just
And
turned
you gotta
25.
remember-
Well, he was 24. It was 24 during the pre-draft
You got to
process.
remember this too, Connor. The rules have changed in the league.
Yeah, I don't think Bo Nix is a good quarterback, though. Like, call me crazy. I just think he's in the right situation.
I never liked him. But let me remember this. The rules have changed in the NFL. Back in the days, a 25-year-old quarterback is old because they only played to 30. They were getting destroyed, clotheslined. Now, if you go like this to a quarterback, it's a penalty. It's rough in the passer. So a 25, 26-year-old quarterback could still play to 35, 40. You see the success of older quarterbacks. Why not take a flyer in the 4th round?
I agree, but it's about mobility. It's about mobility too. Like I know. I get they're not getting hit as much, but they still have to be mobile in today's NFL more and more.
Tyler, he ran. The kid ran a 4.6 in the combine.
Who, Kyler?
No, the kid from Louisville.
Shuck. You said Kyler.
He ran a 4.6.
Sounds good to me if you're gonna take him later. Sounds good to me if he's still there later rounds.
Yeah, like I don't want no quarterback if he can't get the top 2. I don't want no quarterback in the first 3 rounds. I just don't want him.
I agree. I don't want to go up to 1 or 2 either to take these Cam Ward or Shador. They're not worthy of giving the keys to your franchise away for these guys. No.
But here's the thing: one thing about quarterbacks, you never know, right? You just don't know if they're gonna pan out. But let me leave you with this last question. I want each of you to answer this. 7th pick overall. Let's say the main horses are already gone, which means Carter's already drafted, Travis Hunter's already drafted, Cam's gone, Shador's gone, and Mason Graham is gone. Where you going with the 7th pick, guys?
June,
I'm either taking.
June, appreciate you as always checking in here on the program. Have a good night, my man.
You too. God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, June, the GM, checking in here on the show. June's the best. Appreciate when he calls into the show. As always, June, great stuff as always. My friend, if anyone wants to call into the show, you could do so with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Any questions, throw them in. We'll get to those. Super chats come up immediately. Chris, I'll throw it to you first. Where do you stand on June's final remark there?
Jet McMillan, baby. Take me, Tet McMillan at 7.
Same boat for me, Jack.
I like Tet, but I also like Tyler Warren. I know it's a little bit overused, but I think Warren, especially what we saw in Penn State, he's really good. You know, I wouldn't be mad if the Jets pick up Warren. Like I said earlier, though, I wouldn't be mad if the Jets traded down either.
I'm gonna pull up this. Let me see. I'm gonna see this tweet here from Zach Rosenblatt. I'm just gonna let you guys know about right now. This came out literally 6 minutes ago. So while we were on the line with June, it says, quote, as of now, I'd call it a 50-50 shot that Justin Fields lands with the Jets. There was a sense of optimism earlier today, but if the Steelers really believe in him as a starting quarterback, I imagine they're going up to the ante after the DK Metcalf trade. If he makes it to tomorrow without being re-signed, the Jets' chances go up, I think. So it seems like, pretty much a coin toss right now if Justin Fields is going to come to the Jets. Chris, how do you feel?
I'm praying that they don't sign him.
You mean the Steelers?
Yeah, I'm praying that the Steelers don't sign him. I really am praying that we get Fields.
Yeah, I think if he's not, I think if he's not re-signed, like Zach Rosenblatt mentioned there in the tweet, if he's not re-signed by tomorrow morning, I think there's a strong chance he's a New York Jet. So a lot of fun news when it comes to these free agent quarterbacks. A couple questions here before we go back to the phone lines. Joey spoke about Tyler Warren there. David D comes with a great comment. I wonder if the Steelers are going to trade George Pickens. Hey, if the Steelers are taking calls for George Pickens, I answer the phone and I see what they're asking.
I was wondering that too.
I don't think Aaron Glenn would want George Pickens on his team though. Aaron Glenn's like a no bullshit guy, and George Pickens is causing problems left and right. So I personally don't think the Jets would be in the market for that. I would want them to, but I don't think they would.
3rd round pick, 4th round pick. Why not, Jack?
I mean, I don't know. I'm complicated about that, especially because he has an attitude like DK, like we said earlier. I don't think Aaron Glenn doesn't like to mess around, like Chris said. So, but if Aaron Glenn wants talent, I believe Glenn will go get it, and I believe Glenn will coach or at least teach Pickens to be a team player. Don't be cocky. Don't do one of this addition. Don't do this other stuff in addition, like being cocky or stuff like that. But that's why I'm mixed on it. I'm mixed on it.
For sure, 1000%. One more comment here from Dave before we go over to the phone lines, and guys, keep the questions flowing. We're gonna get to those, so don't worry. Dave says, "Does DK extension push Garrett Wilson's numbers up?" Yes, by a couple million. I think he's still in that 4 for 120 range when it comes to Garrett Wilson, Chris.
Yeah, the sooner you sign Garrett Wilson, the less it goes up. So they need to get this deal done as soon as possible. We're all still waiting. So I think it's a no-brainer to do it this offseason and as soon as possible. So get that done tonight.
Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Next Gen Jets. Jack, Connor, and Chris all with you here on a Sunday edition of the show. Be on here every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mark your calendars. Super fun show. We have all for the foreseeable future. So please be sure to stay with us. Like, share, and subscribe. Free way to contribute, and it helps us grow significantly. One away from 100 likes here on today's show. So if you haven't hit the like, completely free, hit it. Like, share, and subscribe. Like I said, free way helps us grow significantly. Let's go back over to the phone lines. We got our guy Beastbreaker, who is next up here on the show. Beast, what's going on?
Beast.
I know what we're going to do first. We lost all the guys that I wanted. Now we're going to have to do this. We're going to take $3 billion out for a D-line. Well, that's the first number one thing you do. Then with $3 million,
Beast, Beast, we can't hear you.
Beast, your Wi-Fi.
We need this. We're going to present them with this check. But in order for them to get this check, they're going to have to participate, and that means you bring your ass to work. And you're going to work with your teammates and your peers and your friends. And when you come to work, don't you dare bring that drama queen bullshit, because we will kick you out of here first man, first come, first serve. And that's the way the ball's going to roll. $7 billion, we will go get a brand new offensive line and a new kicker. The last kicker we had,
I agree on the kicker, but we have a good offensive line.
Greg Zuerlein doink the upright, and somebody go pull up that Greg Zuerlein donkey off the crossbar going doink, 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 and here's everybody.
I don't like Zuerlein either.
Beast, we appreciate the call, but we lost you there with the internet. I always love the positivity there from Beast, but we lost him with the internet there.
I love Beast, man.
I love Beast.
Beast is the GOAT. I appreciate him checking in here on the program, I appreciate him calling in. As always, like I said, any questions for Jack, Chris, and I, throw them in the chat. We'll get to those. If you want to call into the show, pin comment at the top of the chat. Super chats, memberships, cut the line immediately. I mean, it looks like we pretty much hit on everything for today's show. You guys got any final Jets thoughts you want to share here before we wrap things up with the chat here a little? Last chance for those who want to call into the show or those who want to get questions in here on the program. You guys got any final thoughts? Chris and Jack, anything you want to wrap up when it comes to latest Jets news, what we've heard today?
Jack.
I know it's basically a done deal, but Connor and Chris, are you guys interested? I know Schefter came out with a post a couple days ago stating that the Jets would be open to bring him back. I don't buy it one bit. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. I know he had a bad 2023 season. He had a good upstart to the 2024 season. What are you guys' thoughts on Allen Lazard? Because I feel like I don't see the Jets bringing him back, but although I would be interested to see what they do with him.
Chris, take it away.
I think it's time to move on. Allen Lazard, he can be dismissed along with all the other Rodgers buddies on this team. It's over. The era is over, no matter if we like it or not. The era is over. Lazard barely can cut Rodgers balls that he threw. So who's going to catch for someone else now? I think it's time for us.
Just let him go.
Just let him go.
Just let him go.
Bye. Nope. No to Allen Lazard. I am not paying someone who had the highest drop rate over the past 2 seasons $11 million to be on my roster. No thank
That's
you.
Crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Waste time.
Connor wouldn't be caught with anyone who's associated with Rodgers slightly.
You guys know that too. You guys know that too. So yeah,
You do not like Rodgers one bit.
So can't hold on to the ball. Is Rodgers' buddy and is owed $11 million, 3 strikes and you're out. No, thank you.
Can't hold on to the ball, can't get the money. You know, can't hold on to the ball, can't get the money.
I just can't grasp the fact that people would be on board paying a guy like him $11 million next season.
Honestly,
Yeah,
if you're trying to get him, why not get Lockett? Why not, sign Lockett? He's old. Get him on a couple-year deal. He'll be a glue guy in the locker room. Why not Lockett?
Yeah, I like Lockett. Although his age comes into a factor, I do think Lockett still has some talent left in him, though.
My dream free agency plan, like my dream offseason plan, guys, right now for the wide receiver room. You sign Diami Brown 3 years, $9 million, 3 years, $10 million. You sign Darius Slayton 1 year, $5 million, 1 year, $6 million. You draft Ted McMillan. Like that's a dream for me, Jack.
That's 100%.
Yeah. Do you like Ibuka though? Are you guys high on Ibuka?
I really, really like Ibuka, but I'd rather go him in a trade back. The thing I like about Ted McMillan is the skill set. I think that would fit opposite of Garrett Wilson. Like, I would take 2 Garrett Wilsons, 1,000%. But Emeka Ibuka kind of fits that mold of a slot guy, 6'1", 205 pounds, a fluid athlete, the guy who's able to find space for himself, the natural route runner, able to track the ball, versus the Ted McMillan, who's 6'5", 212 pounds, who's going to be the guy to go up and get contested catches, not just another slot guy, right, Chris?
I'm extremely high on Tet. If they cannot get him and he's already off the board, I'm 100% open to taking Mbuka, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but I'm open to
Ibuka, yeah.
Yeah, Ibuka. I'm open to taking him. And yeah, as long as my dream offseason is, they sign Fields tomorrow. They get Fields tomorrow. They go out and they draft McMillan and sign the guy June's talking about, the receiver. And then they go in. Yeah, and in the later rounds, they just touch up on, maybe get Jalen Miller in the later rounds if they must take a quarterback. But yeah, as long as they don't do anything stupid like trade up to number 1, I'm good. Just get Fields.
Ladies and gentlemen, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Next Gen Jets, first ever episode. We're going to wrap up here soon, so I can't thank you enough for all your support. Like, share, and subscribe. Completely free, helps us grow here significantly. We're going to be here on the NY Flight Jets Talk YouTube channel every single Sunday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Jack, Chris, first episode. It's in the books. Chris, how you feeling after the first episode? You got any final thoughts?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm glad to be here with you guys doing the show. I'm glad I found it. It's crazy. If I never called into Jake's show, this would have never happened. So it's crazy how paths cross, and I'm excited to keep on doing the show, man.
Yes, sir, Jack.
Yeah. I have a similar thing with Chris, right? If I never was home from school that day, if I never was sick that day from school, I don't know if we'd be here right now.
Were you sick, Jack, or did you just want to call into your show?
No, I was actually sick. I think I was vomiting all night the day before. But I did have intentions of the night before of calling it a Jake show, so you can add a little bit of that in there.
For sure. First episode, guys. Next Gen Jets show in the books. Jack Cotter, Chris Grasso, Connor Long, signing off here on this Sunday evening. I'll be back tomorrow. One show tomorrow, multiple shows on Tuesday. I'm off from school Tuesday, so stay forward to that. The free agent frenzy, less than 24 hours away. So really looking forward to it. Can't thank you guys enough for all your support. For Jack and Chris, I'm Connor signing off. JETS, Jets.
Let's go.